I'm here this afternoon with Lyndon Allen. You're from Nashville, Tennessee.
I pastor Woodmont Bible Church in Nashville, Tennessee.
Woodmont Bible Church in Nashville, Tennessee.
Right.
But you're here in San Angelo.
As a representative for Christians United for Israel, I'm the regional coordinator for Christians United for Israel, founded by Pastor Hagee in 2006.
It's an awesome organization. It's had tremendous growth over the last, it's 10 years old, I understand, and I think I heard last night it started with 400, and how many people are involved?
3.2 million people now are members of Christians United for Israel, an organization dedicated to educating the body of Christ unto the importance and biblical significance of Israel and the Jewish people, and how we can stand with them to make sure that we don't have another Holocaust.
Oh, amen. How long have you been with Kufa?
I've been with Kufa since 2014. Again, I pastor in Nashville, and they knew of my activist work in Nashville and invited me to be a part of the organization, and I could not be more thrilled to be working with Pastor John Hagee. He's a tremendous man, a visionary, a sweet-spirited man, and one who understands that anti-Semitism must be stamped out wherever it appears.
Here in the United States, how much anti-Semitism do we see here in the States?
Mainly it's showing up in the form of the BDS movement, which is an anti-Semitic movement because what they're trying to do is hurt Israel.
BDS?
Which stands for boycott, divest, and sanction. And essentially it's trying to avert finance or monies to hit the land, or averting monies in terms of interacting with Israel. And it's an anti-Semitic movement, essentially, because it's designed to hurt Israel, and Israel is a nation of Jews. And so its heart and mind and soul is deeply being interjected on college campuses around the country. A lot of our Christian students are having to interact with those who support the BDS movement and calling Israel an apartheid state, and which is absolutely ridiculous. That's a fallacious statement at best. Israel is not an apartheid state. There are Knesset members who are Arab within the Knesset. And if it were a true apartheid state, anyone who was non-Jewish would be disenfranchised from the political process, as it was in South Africa, when South Africa was a true apartheid state. It's an insult to those who suffered under true apartheid to declare that Israel is an apartheid state and Palestinians are somehow suffering beneath it. That is not true. They are not having the same struggle. It's not even equivalent, and they're not having any struggle in that regard. There's no barring of Palestinian people from society. There's no Palestinian water or drinking fountains or restrooms. None of that exists. It's an open society, and Israel deserves our support.
How many Jews do we have here in the United States?
That number, probably around 6 million, I would think. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. Really, before I even put a number out there, I'm not sure. Roughly 14 million Jews in the world. 6 million live in Israel right now, and the rest of them are scattered throughout the world, and most of them in the United States.
I heard New York City had a tremendous Jewish population
So I'm not
up
too
there.
sure about the total number of Jews in America.
Kufa, what are some of the specific things that the organization does to benefit Israel?
Well, what we do is educate. We go to communities and we talk to pastors, and we encourage them to look at Israel as a place to focus their attention and to get a resonant tone and passion in their heart for Israel and the Jewish people, and to understand the biblical significance. Amos 9 clearly states that Israel will not be, the Jewish people will not be uprooted from their land again. When you look throughout history, I know of no people group twice exiled from their land and they find their way back. The Babylonians displaced them, the Romans then displaced them, and each time they found their way back. And this time, according to Amos 9, they will not be uprooted again. So, twice exiled, and now they are now a nation. And 1948 was a miracle, and that's what we try to teach pastors. And then we go into churches and do the same. Have Standing with Israel events, and then after that, if enough churches coalesce within a region, then we'll have a night to honor Israel, whereby we honor the Jewish people because they gave us our book.
That's right.
And it was from the Jews come our Messiah. So
Jesus is a Jew.
unmistakable, undeniable. So the Hebraic roots of the church are starting to emerge, and people are starting to realize, wait a minute, I mean, Christianity didn't start in Rome? Sorry, no, it didn't. It started in Jerusalem.
And we were grafted in.
According to Romans 11, that's exactly correct.
Yeah.
Grafted in. Grafted in as wild olive branches, and natural branches are on that tree as well, and the sap that's in the natural branch is the same sap that's within the unnatural. So we have a bona fide stake and investment by the God of heaven who has declared us part of it. It's our family journal too now, we who are believers in Jesus. We can't ignore the Jewish people because that's where we came from.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like there's a tremendous interest in the work that Kufa is doing because it's grown tremendously over the last 10 years. So is the reception or the ability to expand the education and knowledge of people throughout the United States, is that going well? Are there struggles? What's the pulse out there?
It took us 6 years to get the first million, 3 years to get the second million, and right about a year and a half to get the third, and we're on our way towards 4 million strong. And the reason why that is because God himself is stirring the hearts of his people. And when that happens, we come in and just pretty much validate what the Lord has been speaking to them about privately. Mm-hmm. And I'm starting to see more and more people getting engaged in understanding the Hebraic roots of their faith, and that immediately creates an affinity for Israel and the Jewish people. Because were it not for them, just like Paul said in in the book of Romans, were it not for them, we wouldn't have our scriptures, our covenants. And Romans 9, 10, and 11 clearly state that God is not done with his people. We're just echoing that and taking action on it.
If people do want to learn more along that line of their Hebraic roots, where do they go?
Well, you can go to totallifevictory.com, which is my website, totallifevictory.com. You can definitely go to kufi.org to learn how you can be an activist in this space. Because we go to Washington, D.C. every year to remind our elected officials, please stand with Israel, stand with Israel. And we stay in contact with our membership to alert them of any legislation that's coming down the pike that is germane to Israel. And if it's favorable, we let them know. And if it's detrimental, we also let them know. Like the Iran nuclear deal. When that deal was ratified, we rallied our base to let them know this is what's going on in Washington, and our voice needs to be heard, and our voices are still being heard. But sadly, it went through.
Yeah.
It went through.
What kind of reception do y'all receive from the men and women that work on the Hill?
Oh, open. People love Israel. They do. I mean, my personal congressman is Marsha Blackburn, and Lamar Alexander, our senator, and Bob Corker, our other senator. The Tennessee contingency is pretty strong on Israel, and so too is Texas. Mm-hmm. Very strong. The Texas legislative contingency, they're quite, that delegation is quite strong, similar to our delegation in Tennessee. A lot of people think that Tennessee is North Texas.
Well, we've always, the Tennessee people came to help us with Alamo. Yeah.
Our state motto comes from that scene with the Alamo. You know?
See, we're connected besides T's.
Absolutely. Yeah, the two T states.
That's right.
That's just us.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So our objective, again, is to remind our officials, and we do so through education and rallying our base.
What kind of information is available? You mentioned the Kufi, CUFI.org. Mm-hmm. We'll put that along the bottom of the screen so people can go. What kind of information is available on that site?
Oh, a plethora of books, pamphlets. Pastor Hagee's book is available. David Brogg, our executive director, his book is available. We have the Israel 101 pamphlet. I strongly recommend that. It really gives you an education as to how the modern state of Israel emerged. from 1897 all the way to 1948. Great resource, great resource. And you'll learn about how you can join. And there are all kinds of little things you can purchase that are Judaica-oriented, mezuzahs, menorahs, and things that reflect that Judeo-Christian foundation that we are as America.
And that's true. We are Judeo-Christian base.
There are 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. 29 of them were seminary-trained men. A couple of them straight-up pastors, like Benjamin Rush. Well, Dr. Benjamin, he was a doctor, but he was seminary-trained. But John Witherspoon, he was a Methodist minister, a Presbyterian minister. Sixth president of Princeton University. So these men who were seminary trained were not trained in Islamic seminaries. They were trained in Christian, Judeo-Christian seminaries. So their whole mindset was a biblical worldview for the founding of a country.
And a lot of our biblical principles are interwoven in our Constitution and Declaration of Independence and all the different founding documents.
When Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence and said, we appeal to nature's God and nature's law, and nature's law, nature's God, that's the God of the Bible. He wasn't talking about any other God but the God of the Bible. And that appeal is why the Constitution is only a few pages long. It's because the Bible covers everything else. The Bible covers everything else, and the Constitution just dealt with order for a nation, but natural law covers we shouldn't have to make a law that says, don't step on my toe when I don't want that. Because natural law says, respect your neighbor. Do unto your neighbor. Do unto your neighbor as you will have him do unto you. That comes out of the Bible.
Yeah.
That comes out of the Bible. So those men were hoping that the populace would have allegiance to the Bible and therefore be kind of self-governing and self-restraining, as opposed to, well, we have to make a law that you don't, slap your neighbor's wrist without letting him know. And I'm being ridiculous,
yes,
creating a ridiculous notion to illustrate a point, that the Bible takes care of the other areas of civilization, and the Constitution was designed to just give guidance to a government, and that the people and their allegiance to God would take care of the rest. They never intended for law to be, this thick.
No.
Never, because
no.
the Bible takes care of the rest. And Israel is in there.
Yes.
And watching over Israel. America, I truly believe, was created to be Israel's companion.
Yeah, absolutely. Our country, yet it was founded on biblical Christian principles. Mm-hmm. But yet today I would say that the majority of our country doesn't live by those principles. What do you see in your travels across the United States going on, and how do we bring our country back to those founding principles, those biblical principles?
The only way back is for pastors, men like myself, individuals like myself, who will speak the truth unabashedly, unashamedly, and hang on to the absolutes that the scriptures purport. When a culture lets go of absolutes, they are literally letting go of God himself. If we seek to saw ourselves away from those biblical absolutes, we will fall into the abyss. Right now, sadly, our country is, we're standing on a branch that is jutting out from a cliff, and we're sawing away, but standing on the wrong end.
Yes, I agree.
We're standing on the end that will fall once the sawing is done. And we need to get back to the rock. And that rock is a Jewish rock. And that rock is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Jesus is our rock. This has been great chatting with you. I so appreciate the time that you've given me.
That's a good spot to end, talking about the rock. I appreciate it as well. Thank you so much. Look forward to your next trip back to Texas.
Thanks for all you do, Kat, for the kingdom.
Thanks.